Longer term viewers of the channel may remember that part of our property here is an old sand pit, and it was last being operated over 30 years ago. But when we moved here about 20 years ago, much of this area was just dry blow sand with very little vegetation on it, if you can believe that. As you can see behind me, we now have trees and shrubs and various ground plants, including grasses and willows and goldenrods. But part of the plan for this area, this part higher up over the main sand pit, this little open area, part of my plan is to try and keep it open and turn it into a bit of a prairie or a savanna type habitat. So this is the area that I've concentrated most of my grass planting in. So this is the area we're going to look around now for the most part. So here I'm standing out in some of my main clumps of big bluestem grass. It's a vase-shaped grass that grows up to 3 or 4 feet tall. Then it has these tall seed heads up to 6 or 7 feet tall. And big bluestem is also called turkey foot grass sometimes. And that's because the shape of these seed heads looks like a turkey foot. Especially if you hold them upside down on your hand, they give you the shape of a turkey foot. This is another warm season prairie grass that makes a nice addition to your gardens or garden edges or the backs of your gardens. It does seed itself, so you might have to control some of the new seedlings as they come up. But a beautiful grass, very elegant, nicely shaped, and a nice reminder of bygone days when these grasses were much more abundant than they are today. This is one of the clumps of little bluestem that I have growing here. I have noticed recently though that it is spreading too. Usually in the late fall I'll go around and collect seeds off these plants and just scatter them around this upper surface of the old pit. I'm really happy to have little bluestem here, and it's a very pretty plant. Again, clumping, warm season grass. Doesn't get as tall as the big bluestem. A very pretty little grass. Very fine leaves, almost sedge-like in appearance. This is one of my favorite prairie grasses. And I was lucky enough about 10 years ago or so to manage to get a lot of seeds from a local person who already had restored a lot of their fields to Indian grass. So I could just go in there and scoop handfuls of cured seeds right off the plants, bring them here and then scatter them around. And ever since they've been doing very well. I must have 15 or 20 plants here now, and they're increasing every year. Just a gorgeous plant. Leaves probably about as tall as the big bluestem, although they're wider leaves and more of a bluish color. And then these beautiful golden, narrow, cylindric seed heads that are in themselves up to a foot or so in length, topping out about 6 feet on average, some higher, some lower, but just a gorgeous native grass with the golden seeds. Depending where you get the grass, you might get cultivars of all these grasses, but in particular Indian grass, you can see it at nurseries sometimes, and sometimes it has different colored leaves. But if you can get seeds locally to where you live, that's the best way to do it. Therefore, you're not spreading a lot of different genetic strains around. Anyhow, this is done really well here in the sand. It doesn't seem to mind the very dry conditions at all. And this is the first native grass that I started with here on the top of the old sand pit. This is called switchgrass, Panicum virgatum. And as you can see, it becomes another fairly large grass, clumping, although it's a round globular clump shape. And as you can see, it also gets fairly tall, closing in on 6 feet here. It has wide open panicles of seed heads that are very pretty and very airy looking as they dance in the wind. The leaves again vary depending where you get them and what variety you get. They range from dark green to lime green. Sometimes they have quite a reddish tinge to the leaves. but in all cases very pretty and just really nice seed heads. And these ones have expanded around very well too. Again, I take the seeds in the fall and sprinkle them around various parts of the sand pit just to get them established. I've seen a variety of birds eating the Indian grass, and also up here on the switchgrass, goldfinches and other finches, little sparrows and things like that in particular. The seed-eating birds, as you would expect. So a very useful purpose to have these native grasses here. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that overview of a few of the native grasses that you may find in your area where you're living, and species that you can plant in your gardens or wherever you think would be appropriate. As mentioned previously, they provide a very nice rich texture component to the gardens, and the colors are beautiful, and the colors change throughout the years. Most of these grasses become a beautiful yellowish color or orangish color sometimes in the fall. Switchgrass, for example, the leaves on switchgrass turn a nice bronzy orange usually, and some of these other species do as well. It just depends on the variety that you may have. Anyhow, just some food for thought on some native grasses that you might wish to add to your yard.